So Shelby OAKS is the directorial debut of Chris Stuckmann. And if for some reason you don't know who that is, he is a very prominent YouTuber that has been on here for a long time reviewing movies and has always wanted to make his own film. I think this is an incredibly inspiring thing to have happened. The fact that this is a wide released movie. I got to see this at my local theater. Well, not local. I still had to drive like 25 minutes, but still, that's very close. I was not expecting to actually be able to see this movie in theaters. And I think back to 2013-ish time where I was making my first attempt at trying to do YouTube seriously. And Chris Stuckmann was one of many inspirations at the time that made me feel like it was something that was achievable, something that I could actually do, because he was just talking about movies in the same way that I always did to my friends or just to myself in isolation. But the only difference was he had a camera on him and he was recording and he was uploading. And I thought, like, I should be able to do the same thing, right? And so I started a YouTube movie review channel, not this channel. It was a different channel, but that's what I did on there for quite some time. Then this was my vlog channel on the side that slowly became my main channel over time. But it all started with trying to talk about movies and trying to make short films and make movies in general. And that was always the goal. That was always the attempt to see that eventually maybe you could use YouTube as a launching point to aspire to bigger things and to be able to make movies. And we've seen this done a couple of times now. James Rolfe made the AVGN movie. I forget the director's name, but that made Talk to Me and Bring Her Back. And now Chris Stuckmann has made Shelby OAKS. And I find this to be incredibly inspiring. And I couldn't be more happy for him that he was able to do this and that the movie is getting picked up by Neon, and, Mike Flanagan's name is on the project, and it's being wide released in multiple theaters all around. And that is such a amazing thing that I just can't even imagine. I can't even conceptualize of what that feels like. And I'm so stoked, happy, and proud that he was able to do this and that he was able to make his first film. And so now it's like all of these years later, he continues to be an inspiration to me, from starting a YouTube channel to now showing physical evidence that it is actually possible to do YouTube and then eventually make a film. And it's just incredible. And, I think that there is a slight bias, with me watching this movie with that in mind and just being really excited that it's somebody's first film. Like, I didn't come into the movie with an attempt to criticize it too harshly at all, because I was just thinking about what it would feel like to have your first movie out there. You know what I mean? And every scene that I was watching, I was thinking about behind the scenes. I was thinking about, what he must have been thinking when he structured a scene this way, or what inspirations, just from what I know about him. Like, I wouldn't say I'm like the biggest fan in the world, but like, I know that he loves the early M. Night Shyamalan stuff. And I know some of the other movies that he really likes. And, so I was like thinking of different scenes and different moments that maybe he kind of like took from this film and that film and what inspired him where. And so like, I kind of came into this movie looking at it in a different way than I would just another mainstream movie that's by, as a director's 10th film or something like that. So I feel like my opinions on this movie are going to be a little bit swayed towards the positive no matter what. But I do think it was really well made, and I think the strongest suit in this movie was Chris's ability to build tension. And a lot of that also kind of co-aligns with stuff that I like to see in movies. I like to see long takes. I like to see slow builds. I like to hear a lot of sound effects and ambient noise and music to kind of build up what could possibly be going on, kind of letting your imagination run wild with things. And he does a lot of stuff like that where a character will be standing behind a window that you can barely see them, or there's something in the dark that you're not quite sure if you saw, but then if you look a little bit closer, you can kind of make out eyeballs staring at you. A lot of scenes that are shot kind of outdoors in the woods, which is another thing that I'm very familiar with, because I live in like the backwoods of Pennsylvania, and I filmed a lot of short films, in the woods and stuff like that. And it just reminded me of like better times in my life where I was out filming things with my friends and having fun and things like that. So there's a lot of things in this movie. Again, like not looking at it with such a critical lens as far as the story and plot goes, but just the idea of filmmaking, the idea of getting a bunch of people together and bring this to fruition and actually get to make something that you're truly passionate about that means something to you as well. The main premise deals with a woman whose sister has gone missing, and she still believes that she's out there and still believes that she's alive, and she's doing everything she can to try to find her. And I believe the personal story, like I'm not 100% certain, but the personal story with Chris is that he did have a sister and he came from a very domineering religion that basically like segregated her, and he went this really, really long time without seeing his sister. So there is a personal element in the storytelling as well. That is definitely there to see. Also, there's a lot in this movie that kind of involves the idea of YouTube, which was interesting. Now, I've gone on record many, many times saying that I am not a fan of found footage movies or the found footage genre in its style. Although I do think there are some exceptions out there. Like there are movies like The Sacrament or a couple of segments of the VHS movies that I really like. There's exceptions to every rule. But in general, I'm not a big fan of found footage stuff. But I think the way this movie isn't found footage, but there's a lot of found footage in it. But I think the way that Chris was able to implement the found footage stuff was really creative and actually kind of fun. For example, the girl that goes missing is part of a YouTube channel with 3 other members called the Paranormal Paranoids. I think that's what it's called, where they go out and investigate haunted locations or places that have like mysterious backgrounds in history. They go to a prison. They go to Shelby Oaks is the main town. It's kind of like a ghost town with a lot of legends and superstitions kind of revolving around it. And so they go out with the camera and explore and try to find ghosts and paranormal things. But the interesting way that he implements it is that their channel mostly thrived in the early days of YouTube. So you get to see a little bit of a vision into the past of how YouTube looked back in 2006, 7, 8, 9, you know, the early days and the layout of it, and how people back then weren't necessarily making videos to just try to go viral, but they were doing it out of passion, out of fun. Before, like, you know, the big channels and the Mr. Beasts of the world took over everything. You know, it wasn't all about, you know, the people that get the sponsorships and the big, you know, the big channels and everything. It was really about people just getting on and kind of sharing their interests and what they were up to. It very much felt like people just recording home videos and home movies or talking into a camera and uploading it. It was very simple before ads took over everything and the world changed, right? And so I like the little glimpses into the past of their YouTube channel and kind of being reminded of what YouTube channels used to be like before everything changed. So that's one way that he implements the found footage stuff. And the other way is that a character is able to get a hold of a small DV tape, which also threw me back because I remember recording movies on those little DV tapes throughout my entire teenage years. So it was awesome to see that. And obviously there are clues on this tape that she watches that gives her a little bit more insight into what may have happened with her sister or how she was taken away or what might have happened to her. So all of the found footage stuff that is in the movie, I actually think is done really well. And that is coming from somebody who generally does not like found footage stuff. But the creative measures that were taken in order to show the found footage in this movie, I think worked out fine. The opening shot, I think, is fantastic, where it shows the sister that's gone missing talking to the camera. There's noises off to the side. You know something's going wrong. And as she goes to the door to try to open it, to walk out, you know something terrible is going to happen. And also your eyes are kind of drawn to multiple places in the room because there is a window off to the side and you think maybe something's looking through the window. And once she opens the door, you're analyzing what you can see outside of the door to see what's out there or who's out there. And little shots like that, I think worked phenomenally and really was great at building tension. And if there's anything I could say, like my main positive about this movie is that I do think Chris is very, very good at building tension. And I think he definitely proved that here. The opening 15 minutes of the movie is also kind of adjacently found footage. It actually feels like a documentary. And it kind of got me thinking because I tried to avoid everything about this movie before I went to go see it. I didn't really watch any of the trailers and I didn't watch any other reviews for it. I didn't really know the storyline other than a girl has gone missing and her sister is looking for her. That's pretty much all I knew. So for all I knew, when I started watching the movie, the whole film could have been like a documentary, you know, like filmed in that style, because they're interviewing people, they're showing clips of the old YouTube footage, they're showing all the paranormal places that they kind of explored and all the weird stuff that has happened. They're talking about, you know, people that are fans of the channel. They're talking to her sister. It's all done in this kind of documentary style. And this goes on for quite some time. And I honestly sat there thinking, I wonder if this whole movie is a documentary. It isn't. It's only like the first 15 minutes, but it's long enough to make you think like that's maybe what the movie is going to be. So yeah, the main character finds a tape that has more clues about where her sister might have gone missing, and she goes out by herself to try to find her. She does not have a supportive husband. She doesn't want to talk to the cops. So she's going out with by herself on this expedition to try to find her sister, going to all the locations in the tape, looking through the clues and that kind of stuff. And there is a lot of great stuff here. However, on the negative side, though, I do think there are a couple things that kind of bothered me along the way with this quest. I think one of them, I had a hard time buying that she would go to the specific location she goes at when she does. Like, for example, there is this really creepy rundown prison in the movie that is shown on the tape, and she does go there to explore, and you expect her to, but she goes like in the middle of the night. And I'm thinking like, okay, I know you're looking for your sister, but like the fact that you would go there alone in the middle of the night with nothing but a flashlight into this decrepit, decayed, supposedly haunted prison. I mean, I get the motivation. Her sister's missing. She's trying to find her sister, but like, I would at least wait until it was like daytime. You know what I mean? My only other negative too would be that I feel like the third act of this movie really speed runs to the end. As I said, this movie is very, very good at building tension and suspense. It is definitely the high point of the movie. And there are times where you're looking at shit and you're just like, there's moments where like, you know, you're either going to get a jump scare or something's going to happen, and it's uncomfortable because of how long the shot lingers. The issue was once we got to the big reveal, which I won't spoil here, I feel like the last 10 to 15 minutes of the movie really just went, and it was kind of over before I knew it. And it left me feeling like a little bit, I guess, like underwhelmed in the reveal, underwhelmed in the finale. I loved everything up until the finale, and I loved the final shot. I loved it. But there is a certain point where I feel like the tension kind of stops building up, and then the movie just kind of goes like from scene to scene to scene, and then it's over really, really quickly. And that could be because of budget constrictions, you know, that could be because you know, things were cut out, that, you know, pacing issues. Like, I don't know, you know, what the reason would be, but it just feels like the movie ends very quickly and very abruptly. Although I do like the ending. I actually really do. I like what happens, and I love the final shot. I think that once we get to the final act, it just goes way too fast. And I wish it would have, kind of spent a little bit more time dealing with the elements that we're dealing with here, and maybe if not explaining them a little bit more, but also just kind of like living in that scene, living in the moment. It's kind of hard to talk about what I mean without going into spoilers, but there's a big scene right before the final scene that I wish would have lasted a little bit longer and gave us a little bit more. But besides that, like I said, as a first film, as a debut film, and a film from somebody that I have been watching and have been a fan of for, you know, over a decade now, I am just incredibly proud that Chris got to make this movie and that it got a wide release right before Halloween. He got his horror movie to have a wide release with Mike Flanagan's name on it days before Halloween. That is fucking awesome. Like, that is so nuts. Like, Cloud9, man. Fucking Cloud9. Yeah, I'm so stoked for him. So, like, viewing it in that way, I will say this. If, like, pretending, if I could just, like, put myself into a world where I pretend I don't know who Chris Stuckmann is and I just watch this movie, I would still think that it built suspense very, very well. And I would still think that it implemented the found footage in a great way from the perspective of somebody that does not like found footage. I do think the third act is underwhelming, but I do like the final moment, the final shot. I really, really like, and I wish there was a little bit more explanation of things. But having said that, I do think the movie is good. I do overall think the movie is good. It's not like The Second Coming or anything. It's not like the greatest horror movie ever made. It's probably not going to be in my top 10 of the year or anything, but I do think it's good. And if you're looking for movies to watch in theaters around Halloween, give this one a shot. You might like it more than you think you will. From this point forward, I don't know if Chris is going to attempt to make more movies. And that's kind of the thing with creating any kind of art. It's like, you work so hard, you work so long on something, and then you put it out, and then immediately after, it's like people are like, well, what's the next thing? It's just like on a very small scale. I get that with YouTube stuff also. It's just like you put so much of your blood, sweat, and tears into something, and then you put it out, and people are like, cool, what's next? And you're like, can we just take the time to appreciate this for a minute? So that being said, I don't know what he's planning to do next. I don't know if he's going to get a chance, more opportunity. I don't know. It might depend on how much money this movie makes, since it is a wide release and, distributed by Neon. If it does really well, they might say, hey, what else you got? You know what I mean? So I wish him the absolute best. And I do mean this genuinely from the bottom of my heart. He has been a massive inspiration from starting a YouTube channel to begin with to realizing his dream of making movies, being able to do this and get it out there in the world and tell the story that he wants to tell with the vision that he has. It means a lot. So it's something I think is very special. And, a lot of people out there, they just criticize, right? That's the only thing that they do. And all they do is they talk about other people. They talk about other things, but they never do anything themselves. They never put themselves out there to try to make something, to try to showcase the things that they have inside their head. Like, I've noticed a lot of negative comments on Shelby Oates and Stuckmann and stuff like that. And if people don't like the movie, that's fine. But I do find it interesting that it usually comes from people that are not attempting to do anything for themselves. Or create something themselves, which is really hard to do. It's scary to do. It's scary to put yourself out there. It's scary to create a piece of art. It's scary to put something personal to yourself into your piece of art. It's scary to put your name on something and then, have everybody's eyes on you for a while. And I obviously don't know things to that extent the way Chris would, because his channel is huge. But the fact that he did something, that he put his blood, sweat, and tears into something, that he wrote something, that he directed something, that he collaborated with, that he pushed it, because this movie was, he talked about this movie like years and years ago. That's kind of how it is when you're making a first film. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to do this and then it's done. It's something you work on for years and years. And I know that he has like a family and stuff he has to take care of too. I can't imagine the stress, the anxiety, all of that to put something out there into the world for people to see. And again, regardless if you like it, if you don't like it, I think that it's a massively inspiring thing that he was able to do. And it inspires me as a person. It inspires me as a creator. So I can't relate to it on his level, but I can relate to it in the aspect of a creator trying to do something that means something to him, trying to do something different than what people would expect from him, trying to do something different when people say, hey, you should only do this one thing ever and never do anything else. And so I massively respect it. I massively respect that he was able to make this film, and whatever he does next, I will be stoked to see it, and I will go support no matter what. Anyways, with that being said, did you guys see Shelby Oaks? What did you think about it? Let me know down below. Did you have you been following this? Like, did you support the crowdfunding and all of that? Have you watched Chris for a long time, or do you have no idea who Chris Stuckmann is? Let me know all that down in the comments below. Thanks as always for watching this video, guys. I really appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up and a comment to help it out in the algorithm. And if you're new here, I have a massive Hellraiser retrospective video dropping on Halloween, hopefully, crossing my fingers for that. So stay tuned for that insanity. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you next time.